Okay, as promised, here's a little bit of what we would have discussed in class. Hopefully you noticed as you answer A and B, look at the answers you calculated. How does the original value compare to that answer? I hope you're noticing something about moving a decimal, as in moving one place or two place from the original number to the answer you got. That's exactly what you should know. The mental math step to calculate that 1% is to just move the decimal to the left two places. 5 through 8, the 10% mental math is to move the decimal one place. So anytime someone asks you to calculate 1% or 10% of something, you should be able to figure out how to just move the decimal to the left. Now, that being said, the pattern that you should see for C and D are similar ideas. The decimal should have moved. However, what you should see for a 20% calculation is it's double the 10%. 10 times 2 is 20. And then the 5% is a little bit harder to notice because of the weird numbers that we were using. But again, you're moving the decimal place twice. So you're using a 10%. And then that answer is actually half of those 10% answers. So 5 is half of 10, or 10 divided by 2. That's what you should be seeing as you do that. The other piece of these, 50% of something, should be half of the original number. 25% of something should be a fourth of the original number. Now that's a little bit more difficult to see, but that's what 25% is. It's a quarter, 1/4 of that number. Half means to divide by 2. A quarter means to just divide by 3. 33.333% is really 33 1/3%, which just means divide by 3. So that's what you should have noticed in how to calculate these. We will talk a lot about these in the next few days with your mental math assignments, that you should be describing exactly that. I will take half of this. I will divide it by 2. I will divide it by 4. I will move the decimal twice. I will move the decimal twice and then divide by 2, etc., etc., etc. The last part of this, using your mental math skills. Usually we get some good arguments going in how you would do this. What you should notice, that 15% is a 10%. So move the decimal twice, plus that 5%. So I'm going to move the decimal twice. I'm going to move the decimal and use that answer, and divide it by 2, and that's what I would get. So 15% of something will be to use that math. Move the decimal twice, take that answer I just got, and divide it by 2. So let's just say I have 30 times 15%. So I'm going to take 15% of my $30 bill. That's my tip I'm going to leave for someone. I'm going to do a 10%, which is move the decimal twice on this, or 30 cents. Or excuse me, once. Sorry, I shouldn't say twice. It's once. Apologize for saying that completely wrong this whole time. Move the decimal once for 10%. Take that and divide it by 2. So I'm going to move the decimal once, I get $3. 5% is half of $3. Hopefully you can do that in your head. It's 1.50. So total, 15% is the total of these two. 3 plus $1.50 is $4.50. 60% should have been found. You should realize it's a 50% plus a 10%. So 50% of something, let's just stick with the 30 again. So 30 times 60% is 30 divided by 2, because that's how I find 50%. Sorry. Which is 15. 10% we just found before, but I would move the decimal once. And then I would add those together. So I get 60% of 30 is 18. 90% is a little different. 90% is starting at 100% and then taking off 10%. So 100% is all. and 10% is move that decimal one time. So might as well stick with the 30 I've been using as an example. 30 times 90% is all of it, 100%, plus the 10%, move the decimal once, which is 33. 9%, oh, well, okay, it must be 10% minus 1%. So I'm going to do 30 times 9%. Again, I'm doing this in my head, not with a calculator. I'm going to do the 10%, which is 3, and the 1%, there's where we move the decimal twice that I was speaking of earlier. That's 0.3. I total that, and I get 3.30. Hopefully you can think about these as you do your Friday assignment. Let me know what help you need.